So, Gordon, here we are in kind of an unusual year for us to all be together, and you're putting on this big shindig. Why don't you start
Yes.
just by telling me something about if I were to meet you in an elevator and ask you, what is this event about? What is it?
What has come to the fore in the last year, of course, is how important our emotional health and well-being is. Parents are concerned, teachers are concerned for their own, for their children, for their students, everyone. Therapists are concerned, clients are concerned because they don't have the kind of access, that they are. And so what I love to do is put the puzzle pieces together, as you know, and I love to distill things to the essence if I can. And so it's putting it together to look at the four factors that would be true for the 2-year-old, for the 3-year-old, for the 20-year-old, the 30-year-old, the 80-year-old, the 90-year-old. And so what are those that are true, and how can we be an answer to our loved ones? And if in relationship with us, how can we take this material home?
Gordon, when you think about all that families and children in particular have been through over the last year during this pandemic and all of the other complications that came with it, what's in your heart and mind right now about what those children and those families really need?
Well, I think what we've come to at the essence of all of this is how important our emotional health and well-being is. Uh, This is so revealed in a time of stress and challenges. Of course, when everything is going well, we don't need to. uh, we don't really need to lift up the hood and see how this whole thing works.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's not going so well, then we need to have some sense. Well, what makes us tick? Why am I experiencing it this way? Why is my child out of sorts? Why am I out of sorts? And what can be done? What can I do?
I think you're totally right. I think those are exactly the questions that I'm hearing and I'm feeling, frankly, for the young children in my lives, for my own children. So this event that you're putting on, this virtual gathering,
Yes.
what can people hope to gather from that then, given that what we are feeling is these questions and these concerns about our own mental health and well-being?
Well, there's two factors that are so absolutely crucial and critical, and that's this idea of togetherness, which we're so acutely aware of now. Um, and it's so hard because togetherness was both the enemy and the answer. So how in the world do we put that together? And the other thing that comes to the fore is our emotional, how we're affected, how we're stirred up, how we're moved, and that this is so key to it. And those two end up to be the most significant factors of all, and that underlie most of what troubles us, and including the troubling behavior of those responsible for, as well as a sense of being troubled. And so it lies right at the core, right at the heart of the matter.
And so your virtual event, if I were to come to your event, what might I gain from the information and the knowledge and wisdom of you and others?
Well, hopefully some insight in how this works, and insight in how we can be the answer to our loved ones, especially our children, our adolescents, um, and it will be our students, and it will be applicable for teachers, for therapists, or for just coming as an individual, because this material applies uh, in all venues. My challenge uh, is to take what I know about how we function and what the most critical factors are, and put them together into a coherent kind of picture, of a model that then can be applied to a baby, to a toddler, to a 20-year-old, to ourselves in therapy. So that's my challenge. I love that challenge. That's then that's what I hope, is to share the insights that come from that, because I believe that if we have some kind of understanding of this, it won't be so daunting, it won't be so scary, it won't be so alarming, and we'll be able to take more proactive action in being the answer to those that we care about and love.
Yeah, it's really part of your magic. It's what you do, is take such big ideas and synthesize them for us, for all of us, so that we can apply them to our lives. I know one of the highlights of your events always is your keynote, your big thinking presented in such a warm way. Can you just give us the essence of what is your message in your keynote this time?
Well, the organizing construct gradually emerged. I was trying to put all the pieces together, and then I thought, well, what I really want to address and what I'm really seeing is how we can be the answer, not have the answers, but be the answer to those we care about. And that's a lot different than having the answers. So how can we be the answer to the emotional health and well-being of my children, of my students, of this? Now, it all applies in relationship to ourselves as well. And I think people will be able to read through the lines to be able to see this. But my focus really is on being the answer to those that, to our charges, to those that are in our care, to those we care about.
I'm really curious about that. What do you mean by be the answer as opposed to have the answer? What's the difference for you?
Well, we often think that knowledge is power if we have the answer, but in actual fact, we see this emotional health and well-being is where a person, sometimes totally without any understanding or whatever, steps up to be the answer in a confident way, and provides the conditions in an incredibly intuitive way to the child, to the infant, to the student, without really knowing why they are or what this is about. And my challenge is to keep us from going too much to the head. But I need to share this information so there's insight. So we need to become, in a sense, conscious about it. But I want to use a language that immediately allows us to go back to our heart, find our intuitions, and to enter this dance so that it's not coming too much from, operating on this thing, but restore us to our intuition, so that's what I mean, that we can truly be the answer, because we could have all the answers in the world and still not be the answer for our 2-year-old, for our 14-year-old. We could have written 100 books and not be the answer. So the real question is not how can we know what is there, but how can we be the answer? How can we, in a sense, when you look at this, nature has made togetherness the answer to survival. The more togetherness is there, the greater the probability for survival. This is true for all mammals, and it's especially true for humans. And so this is, and if it is togetherness, then how can we have a way of this togetherness that, again, is the answer? So that's why it's the being rather than the doing. We need to slip upstairs a little bit to think about this before we can find our heart again and step forward. But it's that stepping forward that all the knowledge in the world cannot do the job. There's a dance here. And, you can know all about a dance, but then you finally have to dance. You finally have to take the step. And it's that which I hope to convey is like, okay, now that we've figured out a little bit, let's step forward into the dance and be the answer that is needed at this time.
As I hear you talking, Gordon, I'm thinking that in fact, this message, looking, of course, at mental health and at well-being, but also this idea of being the answer, the timing is perfect, because we've just come through a time when I think our confidence about our ability to be the answer for anyone is has really been challenged. So I'm sure that you've thought about that. The timing, it's almost like a reminder, a reboot for us to say yes, it's been a difficult time when we haven't been together in a way, but maybe it's a way to rethink together. So the timing is so perfect, isn't it?
I think so. There's a lot of loss of confidence. Parents have lost their confidence. Teachers have lost their confidence. Of course, when we have this kind of threat to us, and it's a threat to togetherness, we lose our intuition. We have to listen to the science of, epidemiology, but there's also a science of togetherness that was rather silent during this pandemic. And unfortunately so, because we needed the two things brought together. And hopefully in future pandemics, we'll be able to figure this out so that one is not at the expense of the other, but that the two come together. But as a result, I think we've got so many guidelines, we've got so much information, we've got things that aren't particularly natural to us, like how do we do this without hugs? How do we do this without the closeness? That yes, we now have to figure out a way. Well, what's the essence of this? Even if I have these restrictions, how can I do this? How can I be the answer, even though I can't dance the way I'm accustomed to dancing here.
Yeah, as I'm hearing you talk, I'm feeling as though there's kind of a thirst that I've had, as well as many people have had, that we've just had to put aside, that thirst for togetherness, that thirst for a feeling of attachment, or feeling of being able to take care of anyone. I'm really grateful to you for putting this day, or this event together for people. And you're one of the featured pieces, of course. But in addition to you, there are other colleagues of yours and your faculty who are going to be presenting. Tell us a little bit more about what else we'll learn.
Well, I'm absolutely thrilled at how it's coming together. It's a lot of work behind the scenes. We had planned this live event for it will be almost coming up 2 years ago. And so all the assignments were given to various of the faculty in the Neufeld Institute and to the leading facilitators. The assignments were given, to where we felt people had the greatest contributions. But to take that, and then of course the last year's was canceled at the last moment, so to speak, because we had to make this huge decision, and then decided, okay, we'll be back at our venue in a year, surely. I mean, at that point in March, I think it was that March, it was like, oh, how long this is going to last? And 3 months seemed like it would be forever. And so we weren't really thinking that we got to get post-vaccination and all the things that were going to be involved in this. So it's been the last 6 months has been going just really strong. When we realized, no, we're doing this online, we're going to have to learn all about this. But all of the faculty have been so great in doing this, and their job is to piggyback on the anchor keynote that I will give, and apply this in a different venue, from a different angle, to a different problem or different situation. So it will be multifaceted, or I should say, the applications will go out from this. I will try to set, hopefully I can do my job, I'll try to set the anchor keynote from what it is that we need to think about in this. But of course, there are a myriad of implications, applications, and that's what their job is to take it to all of these different applications.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the learning opportunities that you offer. It is, as you say, did you say go upstairs? It is a lot of deep thinking as a person who attends, but also in those individual rooms. And in this case, there'll be virtual rooms, but there'll be rooms. You can find out, what has this got to do with me?
Yes.
How can I use this information and take it home or take it to school? So I know that Deborah McNamara is going to be presenting, and maybe just tell us a little bit about the other featured speakers.
Well, Dr. McNamara will have a featured presentation. as well as my daughter, Tamara, will have a featured presentation. Tamara will take it into the realm of unfold the arena of play. The science of play is a brand new science, just about 2 decades old, and it is exciting. I am absolutely thrilled with it. I've created 3 courses about it now, but every day I think about it, and every day I realize, oh, this is play too, and how much play has to do with our emotional health and well-being. It's obvious in our cats. When they lose their playfulness, we know they're in trouble, and when they regain it, we understand it, but it's not so obvious for us. And Tamara will unfold that. And Deborah then will unfold what gets in the way of it in terms of our own flight from vulnerability, our own defenses, so to speak. And she'll unfold that area, because that really is key to what is this flight from vulnerability. We run into trouble. It's okay for a day, a week, but it's not okay when it's extended. And so she'll be unfolding that piece, and that will be the 3 keynotes. They'll flow from each other. Those will be the 3 keynotes. The way we'll start the day, and then it will break. We'll have all of these sessions by faculty and leading facilitators. So we'll take it to the different applications and implications.
I'm just, first of all, I'm thinking what you said about play. I'm a grandmother now, Nona, to a 2-year-old. So I've been reintroduced to play. I think some days she goes home exhausted from me wanting to play so much, because it's a wonderful time. And think about what you talk about the real powerful ingredients in play.
Yes.
I'm thinking too about, there are some advantages to being virtual, I think, and to these kinds of events. One is that people will be able to see some sessions that they might not have been able to see if they were at a live event. In other words, you choose a session at a live event, and then if you choose A, you don't get to ever see B. But for your event, people are going to be able to watch all the sessions if they want to.
Yes, and that we're thrilled about this, because that was always the complaint we had. When individuals would say, what is the number one thing I'd like to change? I want to see more of the sessions. I have all of these, whatever it is, 30 options or so, and then I have to narrow it down. Well, when it was 1 day rather than 3 days, there weren't that many options, but there were many more options than you could choose, and so that was a complaint. So when we were in our planning stages of this, it was, well, should we, for the price of the live sessions, just make all the recordings available? And so we were unanimous and said, why not just make it available, so those that are interested can listen to whatever they want to, when they want to, within a limited framework after the conference, but they will be able to do this. So they won't feel as if they are missing anything, that they won't be forced to choose between. They can choose, well, this now, but I'll do that later on.
Yeah, sometimes you see someone speak and you think, man, I wish my partner had been with me, or I wish someone who'd been with me, and they can revisit it with that person and go even deeper with the understanding of the work you're doing. What about interactivity with the presenters? Will there be a chance for participants to interact and ask questions?
For the most part, some of the ones, the sessions with our authors, we have a growing number of authors in the Neufeld Institute, which is wonderful. I'm absolutely delighted about that. And so we're sponsoring some sessions with them. Those will be totally interactive. And then we have different styles of interaction. We have background in the chat for some of the sessions, and so we have some of our lead people being able to moderate the discussion or answer questions, and then in most of the sessions, we will also providing a time for a Q&A, and so that there will be time for interaction that way as well.
Wonderful. I can just really hear the energy in you as you talk about this. What is it that you're really excited about?
Well, our reach, of course, is we must have a much greater reach. So many individuals were not able to attend because they were too far away. It was too big a deal. And I am so pleased with how the Neufeld Institute has grown, the mastery of the material in the various faculty and the course facilitators. So to be able to share the stage, so to speak, with so many uh, gifted individuals who have mastered the material and who are much better than I in being able to take the where the rubber meets the road. You know, I am even though I was a teacher and a therapist, I think the theorist
Yeah.
has always stayed, strong. And I love theory. And when I get into theory, I get excited about it and put the pieces together. But in the end, people say, well, but, and so these buts can be answered by individuals who are quite conscious of the fact that there needs to be kind of a little bit between the model, the theory, and terms of the application. So that's what I'm thrilled about, is this gives a lot more opportunity to do so, for people to have access to it, for the reach to be greater. So it feels like, oh, this opportunity for individuals to think like a developmentalist, to find the developmentalist inside of them, to be able to make sense of the children in their care, to make sense of themselves. That's what our mission is about. That's what I love to do, is to contribute to that process. So I hope it will be a satisfying experience for all that way.
Well, it usually is. And I've had the privilege of being in the same physical space as you and your faculty for different events. And I know how much heart you have and your faculty has. And the reason you do this work is because you really do care about people. So my last question to you is, if I'm someone who's thinking about coming to your event, what is it that you really hope people come away with?
The confidence to be part of the answer for their loved ones, their dependents, their children, their students, the confidence to do that. Confidence is huge. It is just huge. And part of being an answer to someone is being able to understand what is needed. And that's what I hope to give. Okay, this is what is needed. And we can do this. We can do this, even if there's challenges around, and even if the challenges are daunting, we can do this, because if we know what it is that is at the essence, maybe we can't do it just the way we did it before. Maybe there's so many things that we're having to balance, and so many plates in the air that we're trying to keep, so many hats we're wearing, as so many, especially mothers, are doing in this day and age. But if I know what is important, what is really important, I can prioritize and I can act with confidence. So I think that's what it would be.
Well, the timing is so right for this, and you and your faculty are the right people to be conveying the message and sharing your wisdom. So just want to say thank you for doing this. And I'm certain that anybody who attends will come away with more confidence and more ability to be the person they need to be for the children and people in their lives. So thank you, Gordon.